Well, hello to all my ghouls, gays, and theys, and welcome to my channel. My name is EJ, and we have a lot to dive into with this episode. We are going to be talking about Dragula Season 5. I will be briefly recapping the episode I missed last week, but we will be jumping into Season 5, Episode 3, The Ghost of the Gatehouse. Well, hi everyone. I am so sorry for missing last week's episode. There's a lot going on. I'm planning a trip to LA to interview some major actresses. We will talk about that when it comes up. I am so excited to share that with you. But as I prep for that, got a haircut, the people in my house are sick. We have a lot going on here. So I'm very sorry for missing last week's episode, but I thought it was an okay one. Nothing really stood out to me. I think the two people who were in the bottom, which was Cynthia and Onyx Ondyx, needed to go. They were both bottom two material. We also had our first win from Throb Zombie. It was an overall pretty decent episode. Onyx went home, Cynthia stayed, and this episode continued the good streak of this season. I really like the cast of Season 5, even though I think there's some obviously major filler people who are just here for the early outs, and that's still, as I just shaded some of the people who have left early, they're still very, very talented. We have a very great roster of monsters that all add something different, and I love seeing their interpretations of Ghost this episode. This was a fun, haunted, spooky little vibe. There is some people who I really love, who I want to see do a little bit better, and there's some people who I wasn't in love with, but surprised me this week. So overall, I think Dragula is off to a good start. I think there is a lot of great, solid monsters. I also really love the new tweaks they made to the season. The openings, I love that the Boulets recapped last episode. I also love the exterminations. I mean, stupid little things like all of them dancing and posing at the end of the credits. It's just a well-produced season that feels like it wants to showcase the drag and not particularly just do whatever the producers want to put out there. We see a lot of reality shows, and it's not just a drag race thing I'm shading, that it feels like production goes above anything else. This show is definitely produced. There's definitely things happening. The key thing, we know there's no random stuff in reality TV, but I actually thought this season still wants to promote our monsters first and foremost, and what a great selection. I mean, our winner this week, JK, we'll talk about that in a minute, but surprise. Then we even had surprise people in the bottom. We had people who were safe but still got good critiques. This was solid. This was a good episode, a well-produced episode, and I'm really excited to jump into the nitty-gritty. So this is my review section. You know I like it. You know I'm liking what's happening. It was ghostly, ghostly, ghouly, haunted. It was a really, really solid, fun episode. But let's get into the recap. Let's break down this episode as it progressed. The episode begins and we are introduced to the Boulets and their new hotel. There is a haunted hotel, which is the theme of this episode. We will see our monsters portray ghosts that live in this hotel. We also get things like Throb is the king of filth for this season. There's some shadiness. There is a really good fun intro. I really thought this was a good way to recap last week's episode for people like me who were kind of just all over the place, but was also trying to give us some good solid stuff to start this episode, because I don't know, the beginning of every Dragula episode where I'm like, oh, the monsters are getting back and they're vaguely just waiting for whoever was eliminated to walk in, it's always a little bit tedious. It's always a little bit, let's just get, Cynthia up in this and let's start our fright feat. And the fright feat this week is a pure luck fright feat. There is no challenge. There's no real skill. You just pick a key off a thing and either you get the key or you don't. It's a pretty simple fright feat, nothing too crazy. Coco Kane comes out though. Love seeing Coco. I love seeing just the returning queens, like with Landon and Coco. I really want to see Dolly come back. There's Hoso. There's a lot of people who I really want to see return, and I love that it feels like the show still continues to honor the previous monsters while still giving us the new showcases. So Coco introduces the challenge, says pick a key. They all line up, pick a key, and Jarvis wins. So this key gives Jarvis the potential to put someone in the bottom, to save themselves, or to just kind of do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things, and I thought Jarvis was going to save themselves because it wasn't, they weren't wanting to try to make a big drastic move, but moves were made this episode. I will give Jarvis that credit. More than I thought they were going to. More than I thought Jarvis was going to. So yeah, the episode's just kind of going. We're finding out some of the dynamics, like who's really not getting along, who's a little bit in their head. Nero has this moment where she's kind of not confident that this is a performance challenge. They will be performing as, ghosts, but they'll also be doing a lip sync number. Nero's in her head about that, but also her family stuff. She's going, a traditional Chinese woman that she is, just coming out as a queer person, it's never really easy. So she's dealing with that. We also have people kind of beefing here, trying to figure out what's Jarvis going to do with the key. This episode kind of just goes on. You know how it is. They do the fake out with let's get our makeup done in a rush, and I'm like, let me just get to the floor show. This is good. I think, what was it, Throb pulls JK aside and says, hey, let's have some talks. What's going on with you? You need to shape up. And JK's already not like, kind of does that little shady confessional thing of like, oh, what are you going to do, educate me? It's just like, yeah, bitch, this person's trying to help you out. I know Throb isn't, in my top 5 or whatever, but like, listen to what Throb's trying to say. They're trying to be nice. So we're getting ready for the floor show. We're having jokes being made. And then we get to this haunted, ghostly floor show. And what a good gaggle of monsters we got. For the sake of time, until we start cutting down some of these queens, I'm going to be talking about the tops and bottoms, referring to my notes. So if I look away from you guys, I'm so sorry. So first thing on my notes, we have Throb. JK and Nero were the tops. I was very surprised with Nero in the top. I loved her bridal haunted look, but it didn't scream hotel to me, which was fair because that's kind of what they said about Throb and Nero of like, this isn't hotel adjacent, particularly as much as, someone was a bellhop or, a performer in the lounge of this hotel. As much as those kind of things were happening, I thought Nero still had a good look. I got her bride. She looks like she was checking into the hotel. Things happened. Same thing with Throb, where I got his kind of pimpish, I run the girls who come and, hook outside of the hotel. I really understood these characters. Again, are they hotel? But I saw so many bellhops. I saw so many male presenting outfits today because everyone wanted to be the bellhops that I'm like, what are we doing? So those are the top 3 of the week. Our bottom 3, in the shocker of shockers, Jarvis puts Orkgotik with the key into the bottom. So I don't think Orkgotik would have been in the bottom. I think we would have had a bottom 2, which is exactly who I thought the bottom 2 were going to be. I love the queens that we have, but there's definitely some queens that I'm like, you're here to be early outs. You're here to, showcase your drag, but you're not going to be the winner. And that's people like Satanna and Phylactic, who were in the bottom. So Anna just didn't go further enough with her performance. It was, again, beautiful outfit, very classic, very old school Hollywood glamour, which is what I get from Anna. But when she's kind of playing a bride and Nero's already a bride, you're going to look pretty second rate kind of thing. So we also have Blackberri and Cynthia in the safe departments. Also, Fantasia and Jarvis are safe, but they get critiques. Going back to the bottom, we have, what was it? Orkgotik, the same critique Orkgotik has got. I don't really get how this applies to this, but it's great. Like, Orkgotik is a great monster, a really interesting, performer. I just never really understand the looks. There's always so much explaining that has to happen. And then Satanna, she's just pretty. She's pretty. You know who she reminds me a lot of is Zavaleta from, I believe, last season. Spicy at the mouth, really fun, really good energy, but also can come off a bit bitchy, and also is never the most amazing, monster that I've ever seen. And that's what I'm getting from Satanna. She just wasn't giving it. Also, she was wanting to leave this episode because she was in the bottom. She knew she was going home. Girl, don't do that. At least give them the chance to do the fun extermination. So that is our tops and bottoms of the week. Who is our winner? JK. So JK played this bellhop character with, a little chest opening. It did look a little hodgepodge, but also it looked cool. I'm now really starting to get JK's style of being very male presenting drag. It's still drag. It's still over the top. It's still theatrical, but there's always a boy leaning aspect to the JK characters. Where Jarvis and Throb are, drag kings. I love that. I love what JK is doing as a drag king in the world of a drag queen. There's a lot with JK that I really find to be interesting, and they're the winner of this week. I think the come up is great. As much as I love my Fantasias, my my Neros and all that, I really think JK rose to the occasion and did better than what was in the previous weeks, and that's what we want to see. We want to see you grow on this show. That's what I worry about Nero. other than Nero performing well, which a lot of them didn't expect, is she going to be able to keep topping herself and keep growing and keep going there? That's what Landon did on their season. That's what Dolly did on their season, to be those winners, to really grab you in. So I'm hoping that Nero and like people like Orkgotik and Fantasia, who I do love, come in and then just punch through the walls next week. I definitely think Fantasia, as much as she was one of my top people to win, I don't see her making it too far, because I want to see the horror. As much as JK isn't one of my favorites, they're bringing the horror as much as they're bringing their campy style, their more comedic style. All of them are feeling well-rounded. I just think a couple of them need to break through. People like Anna Phylactic. I think Anna's cool. She needs to push through to get out of the bottom placements. So this is, it's a strong cast, but I just feel the weaker ones are just almost there, breaking it to the perfect status. I usually don't talk about the cauldron and all of them kicking after the critiques from the judges, but when, what was it, Orkgotik kind of dumped the drink on JK and their weird beef, everyone seems to hate JK. JK is speaking out the mouth a little bit and is a little brutally honest. And again, sometimes I'm like, I understand what you're saying, and it may be what we want, but I don't want to hear it from you. Like, wait till the Boulets say it. I don't need to hear it from you, who was eliminated first week, who was safe last week, and who's now just winning. Like, it's just something about that. So you can kind of feel them pushing it. Like, Jarvis and Orkgotik really don't like JK. So I'm curious on the dynamic there, but that drink pour... Ooh, and then Satanna wanted to leave, and then all kind of talking her out of it. It's great. Oh my god, I'm still thinking about Fantasia's Betty Boop outfit in this, like, in the cauldron. Just great. Betty Boop as the iconic black character that she ended up kind of being. Betty Boop's a weird thing. Thinking about Fantasia in that outfit, thinking about all of these monsters. What a great thing. So when we go to, after the cauldron, we go to the elimination. It's rats on top of people's bodies. Honestly, I didn't really even pay attention because I knew Satanna was leaving. As soon as she sat down there, I said, well, she's right, though. She was going to leave, so get her out. And she got out. We're getting rid of the weaker queens. And it's crazy because season 5, there is no bad monsters on this season. It's just some of them are not as strong, and Satanna just struggled a bit pushing through and making herself feel known in almost a titan-like season. Some of these people are titans of drag monsters, and I really needed Satanna to step it up, but this was not her week. She went home. Next week is going to be Anna if she doesn't step it up either. Well, that is it for my breakdown of episode 3 of Dragula season 5. Again, I am so sorry I missed last week. I wanted to talk about it with you guys. It was just kind of a fun little campy kind of a filthy floor show, so I was upset that I missed it, but a lot of things are happening. Now I will say who I'm possibly interviewing if you're at the end of this interview. Charles Melton from Riverdale. He's in this movie called May December. Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. And Ton Haynes, who directed the movie May December, which I'm covering through some awesome opportunities. I'm going to the LA premiere. You guys will be able to keep up with photos and things like that. Make sure you guys are following my social media, EJ Christ. Go there, check it out. Twitter, Facebook, all those jazz. Make sure you guys are following me to keep up with my adventures. And thank you all for supporting me. The Delicate review is coming right after my trip because I'm reading it, finishing the book as I go travel in my airport vibes. So thank you all for tuning in. If you're AHS fans, thank you guys for being so patient. And the Dragula fans, I'm so sorry I missed last week. Now let's get into the reviews, the recaps, all that stuff. And I want to know your feelings right down below.